In the winter of 1974, a small town was paralyzed by fear. Some secrets refused to stay buried.
Ted Bundy looked like the kind of person you would trust. He was polite, intelligent, and charismatic. But behind that carefully crafted image was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. His case shocked the nation, changed the way law enforcement investigated violent crimes, and remains a chilling reminder that appearances can be dangerously deceiving. The story begins with Theodore Robert Bundy, who was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont. His early life has been studied for decades, but many questions remain unanswered. Friends described him as charming and ambitious. He attended college, became involved in politics, and even volunteered at a crisis hotline. To the people around him, he appeared to have a bright future. In the early 1970s, young women began disappearing across the Pacific Northwest, particularly in Washington and Oregon. Many of the victims were college students. Several witnesses reported seeing a polite man with his arm in a sling or on crutches asking for help loading items into his car. He often introduced himself as Ted. Because the disappearances happened in different places and involved different police departments, investigators initially struggled to connect the cases. One of the most significant days came on July 14, 1974, at Lake Sammamish State Park in Washington. In broad daylight, multiple witnesses saw a man named Ted speaking with young women. Two women, Janice Ott and Denise Naslund, disappeared that same day. Their disappearances drew national attention, and for the first time, investigators had several eyewitness descriptions pointing toward the same suspect. As more reports were compared, detectives noticed striking similarities. The victims were often young women with similar physical features. The suspect used charm rather than force to gain their trust. Despite these patterns, identifying him proved difficult because there was no central database linking crimes across different states. In August 1975, Bundy was stopped by a police officer in Utah during a routine traffic stop. Officers discovered suspicious items inside his vehicle, including handcuffs, a crowbar, and other tools that raised concerns. Although this alone did not prove involvement in the disappearances, investigators had already received tips identifying a man named Ted Bundy. The traffic stop brought him under much closer scrutiny. Soon afterward, a survivor named Carol Ranch identified Bundy as the man who had impersonated a police officer and attempted to abduct her earlier that year. Her testimony became a crucial part of the case. Bundy was convicted for kidnapping Ranch and sentenced to prison in Utah. Meanwhile, detectives in Colorado, Washington, and other states continued building murder cases against him. Then came one of the most shocking twists. In 1977, while awaiting trial in Colorado, Bundy escaped from custody. He was captured a few days later, but months afterward he escaped again, this time disappearing completely. He traveled across the country to Florida, where he lived under a false identity. In January 1978, authorities linked Bundy to attacks at the Chi Omega sorority house near Florida State University. The investigation intensified after additional evidence, including bite mark analysis and witness testimony, connected him to the crimes. Shortly afterward, he was arrested following another traffic stop in Florida while driving a stolen vehicle. Bundy's Florida trial became one of the first nationally televised criminal trials in the United States. Unlike many defendants, he often acted as his own attorney, questioning witnesses and speaking directly in court. His confidence and courtroom behavior attracted enormous public attention, but prosecutors focused on the physical evidence, eyewitness testimony, and forensic findings that tied him to the crimes. One of the most debated pieces of evidence was bite mark testimony, which experts at the time considered significant. Along with survivor testimony, witness identifications, and other supporting evidence, prosecutors convinced the jury of Bundy's guilt. He was convicted of multiple murders in Florida and received death sentences. Investigators later connected him to numerous killings across several states. Before his execution, Bundy confessed to many murders, although the exact number of victims has never been confirmed. He admitted responsibility for at least 30 killings committed between 1974 and 1978, but many investigators believe the true number could be higher. Some cases remain unsolved, leaving unanswered questions that continue to be studied today. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy was executed in Florida. His case led to major changes in criminal investigations, including greater cooperation between law enforcement agencies, improved information sharing across state lines, and increased attention to behavioral profiling. The investigation also highlighted how dangerous it can be to judge someone solely by their appearance or personality. Decades later, the Ted Bundy case continues to fascinate researchers, historians, and true crime audiences not because of the crimes themselves, but because of the lessons they reveal about deception, investigation, and justice. It reminds us that evil does not always appear obvious, and that persistence, careful investigation, and cooperation are often what bring the truth to light. What do you think was the biggest lesson learned from the Ted Bundy case? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments, and let us know which historical true crime case you would like to see covered next.